Hey everyone, this is Dean from Paranormal Pickers. Just getting ready for our next Paranormal Picker adventure. Come on, join me. Hey everyone, yeah, we're going live now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Paranormal Pickers. This is Season 3, Episode 13, the final chapter of Season 3. And to my side over here is Sam again, joining me. And who's this guy below us over here, Sam?
You know, hey.
Oh, I'm holding them up.
Hey, watch that finger.
Tonight we have a very special guest joining us. We've got Chris Fleming. Some of you may have seen him on the multiple television shows he's got. Maybe you tune into his podcast. But we've got a really exciting lineup. We've already got a few people saying, hi, everyone. Hey, Christine, Sam. Hey, Laura.
Hey, Laura. I know Laura.
Laura Redmond, yes. Yeah, you had her working for you for a little bit there.
Yeah, let's get some cases together and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Hi, Facebook user. Hi. We have the official Facebook user, the original one, the very first one.
That's right.
That name.
That's right.
Right.
So I want to wish Chris a happy early birthday. Your birthday is coming up in a few days?
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. Thank you.
Happy birthday. You're still young. You're still younger than me, so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank God.
By a couple years.
Thank you.
And I want to mention, because I know that you did the AC/DC and you won a contest back on 103.1 WVVS with Scott Loftus, man. I was like, I know these guys. I mean, I love
this, right?
Scott
Loftus. Yep.
I'm like, I listen to that thing all the time. I'm sure we ran into each other as kids here and there, you know.
Yeah, I love that station.
A small world. Oh, yeah, that was awesome. That's all we had back then. Everything else was...
For anybody that liked hard rock, that's what you listened to, was that station.
Yeah, it was the Loop playing Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Bruce Springsteen, and then you had our Scott Loftus, WVVX, you know.
Harder stuff.
Yeah.
Metallica, AC/DC, Iron Maiden.
Exactly.
Crocus. Yep.
Crocus live twice.
Oh, yeah, they're great. I love them.
Oh, yeah. Well, they are an AC/DC type of band, you know.
Remember dancing to Long Stick Goes Boom at homecoming in high school.
Oh, wow.
And Screaming in the Night. Screaming in the Night.
Yeah, Headhunter was the...
Slow dance to that.
Yep. Actually, I seen them open for Def Leppard. And then I seen them at Chicago Fest. And then more recently over here at Penny Road Pub. So... yeah, Crocus is cool.
When were they at Penny Road Pub?
Oh, God, I would say probably 2011.
Oh,
I got their drumstick, too, somewhere.
Man, I got their drumstick. I would love to have seen that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, guys.
Can't forget Sam. Come on.
Sam was 3 when I saw it.
No, more like 5.5. Okay.
So let's start with you, Chris. As far as, of course, you're the son of the Ruffian. Is that correct? Is that am I saying that right? The Ruffian, Reggie.
He had a lot of nicknames.
I'm sure he did. And then you also have, and we'll get back to Reggie towards the end of the show, but I also want to talk sister. Does your sister have abilities like you do?
You know, what's interesting, a couple years ago, when I say a couple years ago, this might have been, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I was with my mom and my sister. It was during Christmas, and my sister never liked to talk about this stuff growing up. And even one of our babysitters, who I'm hoping to interview in the next 2 weeks, because I had a call with her a year ago, And she was telling me stuff that I didn't even know that went on in the house. And she was telling me how Kelly was terrified. And she remembers that Kelly saw these creatures as well as the ones that I've always spoken about. And I didn't know that because my sister never talks about it, and how she was around during that time. But she starts telling me Kelly would always just ignore it. My sister always did. She didn't want to talk about it. Whenever we bring it up, she'd roll her eyes going, oh boy. I go, well, you were there, you know. She's like, well, we don't have to always talk about it, you know. But a couple of years ago, my mom, myself, my sister, and whoever else was there, my sister starts talking about it. She says, listen, I don't have abilities like you guys and this and that, but I do have one thing. And we're like, okay, what? My sister works for Haggard, which is a horse equestrian medical facility in Kentucky. She's been there for like 20 years or so. And she does a lot of the hiring as well, but she's an accountant for them. She has an ability where she can detect people, whether they're good or bad, whether they're honest or whether they're lying. She has this discernment with people, okay? And it's funny because every time I hit a girl, she'll tell me, I don't like her. I go, don't say that. Come on. She's been right. She's been right. And they've been like the worst. She was, Chris, seriously, and I'm like, oh my God, come on, right? You know, I don't have that discernment. I have the ghosts and spirits, but not that, right? So I told my sister, all right, that's it. You know, whenever I get to a point with another serious relationship like that, if I'm going to get married, I'm going to tell them, you have to talk to my sister. You know, that's it. You know, and if she says no, you're gone. I'm serious. She's been right 100% of the time.
Wow.
You know? So, but yeah, no, that's it. She hasn't, you know, ghost stuff like that. Even though our sitter said that she had experiences too. And I remember the one night my dad and I woke up, she was screaming. And this would have been probably 75, 76. So she was born in 69. She was probably about 6 years old. And she said, Daddy, there's a man that came out of the wall and he was hovering right by the bed and went right back through the wall. And that was the ghost that I was seeing that same week. So she saw stuff, but as she got older, she just doesn't want to talk about it.
It's a shame that she didn't come out and talk to you when she was younger, because you could have been the older protective brother.
Well, but no, I was only 2 years. I'm only 2 years older than her. Okay. Yeah. So I was still going through all that stuff and I was terrified. All right. You know, so, I mean, except there's the one thing where it ended, you know, there's a whole massive stuff that went on leading up to what I'm about to tell you. But this would have been, I think it was maybe 7th grade, 8th grade. My mom was out of town flying. My parents were divorced. My mom would sometimes leave us alone for a couple of days, but she would call all the time just because we just couldn't afford to have a sitter anymore. And I remember me and my friends came over. We were doing the Ouija board in the basement, doing stuff started getting crazy. They left and the phone was ringing and there was static on the phone. And then some friends started calling, messing around, but I didn't know at the time. They were just messing around. Well, the fear built in the house. My sister and I were terrified with what was going on, right? Because we're the only two in the house. But I turned, and with my sensitivities, I turned and I felt something coming from above the basement where the stairs are. And all of a sudden, this black mass, solid black mass is trickling down like a fog down the stairs. And as I see this, I'm like, my sister's behind me. She's crying. She's scared. There's no one else here. There's nothing else we can do, right? So I just picked up this cross, because I always carry this cross around with me as well. I picked up this cross and I just walked towards it. And because I was an altar boy and I went to Roman Catholic school, grade school, I just started praying. You know, I said, Jesus and our Father and everything. And I'm like, I banish you and just go away. And it went. And I'll be honest, since then, stuff stopped. And I think it was when you reach a certain point where you've had enough and you just obtain this faith and this strength, like, you know what, I got to stand up for myself. I got to be strong. It worked until many years later when other stuff started happening in the house that I'm in now back in 2009. And that went on for 3 years and then stopped. But that's a whole nother story. Right. So, you know, I think that was when I was no longer afraid. There were certain ghosts that I saw, okay, that I was friends with, like Henry and some other ones. I'd see them and I'd talk to them on the Ouija board, and I realized they were friendly. They would wave sometimes when they would glide across the room. So for me, it was like, okay, there's some friendly spirits, but then there's some of the dark stuff. And then when I do the Ouija board, they would tell us, you got to be careful about these dark things and who you let in. We didn't know. As kids, we're like, it says, hey, can I come into your house? Can I talk to you? Yeah. Can you do something? Can you make something move? TV guy goes flying across the room, doors open and close. You know, lights would flicker. You know, we have stuff like that. Even the table, like I was just talking to my buddy last week on the phone, the table I had growing up in the 70s, I have now in my basement. Because my mom had it. We were just going to get rid of it and give it to the new owners that bought my mom's house. I said, no, I'm taking it. I said, hey, remember when we were doing the Ouija board? And you told me, and I forgot. We're doing the Ouija board. We got this giant solid wood kitchen table. And we have our hands on the planchette, and the whole table started moving.
Wow.
Not just the planchette, the whole table started moving. We're all like, and it moved right away from me. And that's when we freaked out. My buddy's like, all right, that's it. I'm done. He was like, I'm not messing with this, because they started moving the whole table.
Jeez.
So it just shows you how powerful something can get over a period of time because you give it permission.
Now, when did you meet Henry, your spirit guide?
I still don't know the exact year that I saw him, because I'm trying to outline, because I'm just going to start writing my book. And I know my dad played for Salt Lake City, which would have been in 71, 72, I think. And that's when I saw Chip. Chip came first before Henry. So that must have been, and I know I was watching Kolchak the Night Stalker, which came out 71, 72. It was my favorite show. And it was just after that, some stuff started happening. And my dad said, oh, it's your imagination from watching these things, but it wasn't. So it probably would have been 71, 72, probably about 73 is when Henry showed up, I would assume, 72, 73.
Okay.
And we moved into that house at the end of 1970. It was brand new construction. It's only been like 2 years.
And you have this unknown magazine that you just came up with and just started creating on your own?
Well, I didn't just, during that period of time, as I got older, I went into grade school and then going to high school. My mom, would read various books about haunted houses, possessions and stuff, because stuff that was going on in our house. And then she would occasionally read Fate magazine. And I remember sometimes she'd come home with Fate magazine and I'd read it and stuff. And I just would look for the ghost stuff. And I would go to the library with her because my mom was a bookie. I mean, she'd read a book a day, a week. She'd go through books so quick. It's unbelievable. She spent up all night just reading one book. So I go to the library with her a lot. And I would look up stuff about ESP, ghosts, stuff like that. And I'd come home with stacks. It'd be funny. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I would go to the counter and you couldn't even see my face. I would check out as many books as I could carry. And I wouldn't read them, right? I was the one that just looked at the pictures, right? So I would look at the pictures trying to see if there's pictures of ghosts that I saw. And there really wasn't too many that actually looked like what I saw. So I was very disappointed. But I would read certain things. I learned a few things about what was going on.
Yeah, it sounds like you were absorbing everything at the time,
Yeah. So, I mean, that was that. And then, I went to high school, didn't talk about it too much. We did do a couple seances, Ouija board sessions and stuff like that in high school with my friends, but I was more interested in girls and football. And then out of high school, I went to college and then, was studying. And sorry, I just still got all this cat hair all over my face. Oh, my God. I have 4 cats, and you think I'd be used to it by now, but I get itchy. So it was, let's say, when I got out of college, I was a graphic designer. I worked for a newspaper, became a production manager, and then I became an art director. And then I left there, went into advertising, creative director, then went into the mortgage business. I created something for this mortgage company. He said, oh, I can make so much money, more money working for me than doing that. And I was burned out. So I started working for him. And while I was working for him one night, this is what changed me. I'm doing mortgages. We're all sitting around late at night. And it was in 6 corners in Chicago. So I drive all the way into the city. All right. There was personnel there, loan officers from different countries. One was from Africa. One was from China. It's like he had this melting pot. He was very smart. He brought in all different cultures within the office to reach all different types of towns and different people. And someone starts talking about they just saw a ghost that night. And this person was from India. And they're saying they woke up and there was a ghost at the edge of their bed. And I'm like, other people have these experiences too? I'm sitting there thinking like not too many people I knew had experiences except me and my friends. So all of a sudden, everybody starts telling a story from their different cultures, from Africa, this and that. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I didn't know all this stuff, right? So I became so fascinated. I didn't even tell my story. I was just so interested in hearing these other people's stories that I started thinking, you know what? I shouldn't make a newsletter, because one of my friends was doing a newsletter. Another friend was publishing a magazine called Monster Scene. Steve Smith, he did a magazine called Monster Scene. It was on monsters and stuff from Hollywood and movies. So I'm like, I ended up just telling him, hey, I'm going to do newsletters. He's like, why don't you do a magazine? You're a graphic designer. You got a computer. You can publish your own magazine. So I did. I just felt it'd be interesting to reach out to people all over the world and have them tell their stories, real experiences of strange and unusual phenomenon, Unknown Magazine. And I did that for about 4 years. And it was so hard. It was so hard.
I bet, yeah.
On your own, a 72-page magazine.
Wow.
And I just, it's funny because it was coming out of my own pocket. I remember I borrowed money from my stepdad. He gave me $5,000 to publish one issue and then $5,000 for another issue. And because I was running out of money, my own money to publish it. And I paid him back, which was great eventually from the mortgage business. But I was making no money doing the magazine because I had no advertising really, and you got to sell advertising. I didn't have time to do that because I was getting all the stories and laying it out and everything. And then trying to do the mortgage business. So it got to a point where in 2001, I gave it up because I got really busy in the mortgage business and I did very well for a couple of years. Something had to go. So I gave it up. But I remember saying this to my girlfriend. I said, you know what? I have a feeling that I'm actually going to be doing this on TV and it's going to just change format for me. I'm going to be doing it a different way, a different form of media. And sure enough, I started doing TV and then my podcast since 2006. So it's like, would I go back to publishing a magazine? No. No, it's a lot of
bring out the old ones. You could bring out the old ones and bring them back into publishing.
Yeah, well, what's funny is Haunted Magazine in the UK said, "Hey, we want to republish your magazine." I said, "Nah, I don't want to do that." Well, the problem is I've got an old 8500 Power Mac with the SCSI drive. How am I going to convert that to today's? How am I going to transfer to all that? I don't know how to do that. I want to do
technology out there. You'll figure it out.
Because I want to take all 5 issues and put them on a PDF file, so someone can buy all 5 issues just on a, download to their iPad or something like that. I'd love to be able to do that. I haven't done that yet. My computer is still sitting in the basement.
Ugh.
Sure, there's a YouTube video for that.
Yeah, right.
So it does bring me up to, one of the shows that I used to watch was Most Haunted. And Gail Porter and you kind of had the first ghost show, I want to say, with Dead Famous. Before any of this TV stuff, I think you guys were the American version of Most Haunted, correct?
Well, I think, there was Fear, which came out, I think, in 2000 or 99. They went to just a couple haunted locations and they filmed them just being terrified. It wasn't like real ghost hunting like we were doing on these other shows. Yeah. But when the producer reached out to me in an email, I just ignored it. I wasn't interested. And then she sent out again. I wasn't interested at that time doing TV because I was doing so well in the mortgage business. I got a phone call at the office. I worked for, it was Pillar Financial in Palatine, Illinois. And the receptionist goes, "Chris, you got a phone call from the UK." I'm like, "What? UK? We don't do mortgages in the UK." She was like, "I know, but her name's Charlotte. She's been trying to get hold of you." And I said, "Oh my God." And actually, I still talk to Charlotte. I just talked to her yesterday.
Oh, wow.
She's like, she gets on the phone and I'm talking to her. I said, she goes, "You get my email?" "Yeah." She goes, "Why didn't you write back?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know." She goes, "Well, are you still doing your magazine?" "No, I'm not doing my magazine." "Oh my God, are you still in the paranormal?" I laughed. Like, always be in the paranormal. What's my life? I grew up seeing stuff and I still do. It's just not something I'm really interested in. Because, well, we have this show and the network really wants it and we want to fly you out here to the UK. I'm not interested. "Well, please, will you just read it and just think about it and let us know, because I got a really good feeling about this." I'm like, "All right." So she emails it over. I sit down. I tell the other mortgage officer, "Come read this. Look at this." And they're like, "Are you going to do it?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know if I want to go do something like this. This is my life now, And I called my mom, because my mom I always went to her for advice, I said, "Mom, what do you think?" She goes, "Chris, we used to go to England all the time because my mom was a flight attendant for TWA. She worked international. So I went on several trips to London. I haven't been there since the 80s. And this was 2003. So she goes, "Just go. It's a 2 or 3 day trip. They're paying for everything. You get to go see London and just come back." I said, "You know what? You're right. Why not?" Right? So I said, "This is just a free trip." So I get there, I meet Gail, we film. And I remember we were doing Mark Bolan. We were shooting a quick little mini pilot, 5-minute pilot on Mark Bolan. And we went to where his car crash was. And I'm not getting much doing stuff. And I'm just like, we're basically talking. So we go where his car crash was, and here's the tree he ran into. I put my hand on it and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I'm seeing stuff. I'm feeling stuff, right? And I'm looking at him and I'm like a little kid in a case room. "Oh my God." Like, "What are you getting?" And I just start telling him, I'm like, wow, that was so cool, And then that was it. Didn't think anything of it. I flew home the next day and I get a call like 6 weeks later. Charlie goes, "Well, guess what? We got greenlit." I said, "Oh, congratulations. Good luck." She goes, "No, you're in the show." I go, "What do you mean?" To me, it wasn't on my mind. I wasn't interested. She goes, well, you're in the show. She goes, we start filming in about 3 weeks. So what does that mean? She goes, well, that means you're going to be on the road. We need you for 2 weeks. I go, but I got a job. And I'm like, I'm busting their balls because I don't want to do that. I didn't think anything like this would happen. I'm being completely honest with you guys. I was not interested. And so I talked to my mom, and I'm talking to my friends, and I'm talking to and I'm like, oh my God, now I'm afraid. I'm scared because now I'm going to go on TV and talk about stuff that I used to get ridiculed or that people had a hard time with. And see me as this mortgage guy and this artist, not this paranormal person. I don't know if I want to deal with the skepticism. So Charlotte had to entice me. We're going to this place. What? We're going to Alcatraz? We're going to this? I've heard of those places. I've always wanted to go there. So I was like, as soon as I started doing it, it was like, wow, I'm going. And when things were happening, like if you see my face on the Jim Morrison episode, which was one of the earliest episodes we filmed, it might have been like the second or third or fourth, and the chandelier is swinging, and our director gets shoved right by the stairs, and the shade goes up, and all this other stuff, and the EVPs. I was like, how cool is this to be in a haunted house, not your own haunted house where you got to sleep, right? But be in a haunted house with other people, having experiences with you as adults, and we're documenting this, like on the news, live at 5. We are having this happen. We're going to Jerry right now. Jerry, what's going on? It was just like, it was a new experience for me.
That's awesome.
So, and you see my face, like I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Gil, no, you understand. We got to do this. Gil's like, I don't want to go in there. I go, well, I got to go in there because this is like, I'm not afraid anymore. I want something to happen. So for me, it was just exciting, and the rest is history, Well,
yeah, that's kind of the start. And then it all stems to your mom saying, just go.
Yeah. It was. Well, my mom at the beginning, she kind of had a hard time. She was like, oh boy, she's like, people are going to rip on you. They're going to this. They're not going to understand. And she was worried. She goes, I'm just worried. Mom, stop worrying. She's like, I'm just worried about you. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want, people to ruin you and this and that. And just, now she's like, she lives in we just put her in a care home last year. And 2 of the women that work there, 2 or 3 of them, they all watch the paranormal shows. They watch the shows that I do. So they're coming in, telling my mom all the time what I post on social media, telling my mom, a show they watched. And then my mom's all like, that's my son. That's my son. It's cool to have my mom shift. I mean, my mom was, when we had ghosts happening, it was her and I doing the Ouija board, and we were so into it, but she's like, do not tell anybody we're doing this, okay? And then when other stuff started going on, she would not talk about it because she doesn't want people to think we're crazy. So it took her a while to be accepting, and now she's accepting, which is, thank God. Thank God.
Well, since you were at the Tinker Swiss, we're going to turn that corner here now. Yeah. So you were at Tinker Swiss Cottage for 3 of the last weekdays, whatever.
I was there April 29th, and then the 5th and 6th, May 5th and 6th, Friday and Saturday. So yeah, 3 weekends, 2 weekends, 3 nights. Yeah.
I was there with you on the 5th.
Yes.
And so I'm going to turn it over to Sam now.
Yes.
Since I did all the talking the first half here.
Yeah. So, it was so funny because when I got your voicemail, I had just actually started watching Haunted Scotland, and I loved seeing you on the Psychic Kids years ago, right? And so I started watching Haunted Scotland, and then 2 days later, after I'm getting into these episodes, I get a voicemail that Chris Fleming wants to come to Tinker, and I'm like,
oh man, that's so cool.
And so I called my coworker Stephanie, and I was like, "Come here, listen to this voicemail." And she's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna be there." Because poor Stephanie, she loves the family, she loves the story. She's wonderful at her job, but it also terrifies her.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "That's so cool! Congratulations! I will not be there. Find yourself some helpers." And so, we had Sarah and Nino from Midwest Ghost Investigators. Dean came out to help on the 5th. We had Bartel and Henson. So Josiah, Steve, and Greg from Conover Square.
Yep.
What's that?
And Nino was there too. Yep.
Yep. So we had so many fun people, but the groups that you brought in were just so much fun to get to meet. So do you want to talk a little bit about, how you put together these events and what got you started in this part of it?
Since 2006, I've done events. I've spoken at events and been invited to events and ghost hunting. And then between 2012 and I think 2017, maybe, I didn't do too much because I was dealing with a lot of stuff from my car accident. And I just kind of pulled away a little bit from the paranormal. And then around, I think it was about 2017 or so, I wasn't invited to too many events at the time. And I kind of didn't want to really travel too much. So I said, I'm just going to do a couple little events. I was terrified. The first event I was going to do, I was like, oh my God, anybody can even buy tickets to it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's my responsibility to put this together, and it sold out. And I was like, holy cow, right? So I did a sequence of events at various places. The first ones I did, I think, were at Evil Intentions, because it was right by my house, 20 minutes. And I started branching out, Joliet Prison and just various places all over Chicago. And they were selling out. I think I've done like 22 different events over the last 5 years, 6 years. And all of them except 2 have sold out. So I'm very blessed for that. I don't make them huge, except we did do Joliet Prison, 100 people, and another time 60. But that's the biggest we've done. Usually the events are going to be around 30 to 40 people. But for Tinker, I said, let's just make it 20 because the place is smaller. And the one complaint I had is when the events are bigger with that many people, it's just too many people. And I said, all right, I want to do some smaller events for the diehards and stuff. And these wonderful people that I've become friends with, okay, coming to all these events, they're going to almost every single event that I put together. We've all got to know each other and become friends. So it's like a big family. And then new people come in too, and we embrace them and welcome them. And it's wonderful. So I'm very blessed to be doing these, I call them paranormal access events, because we're doing the paranormal and I want to get access to these locations. And of course it's an event. That's why I call it that. And everybody's VIP. I said, you get the VIP card, everybody's VIP, because I want everybody to be treated the same. I remember a woman when we were at Joliet Prison, she goes, we were all at the buffet, because we had at this buffet before we went to the prison. She goes, what's this VIP? What do we get for the VIP? I go, well, you get me standing here treating you just like you'd like to be treated. And I will do that for every single person, because I know what it's like to go to an event and then everybody's there, but then there's like only about 10 or 20 people, whatever. They get the VIP treatment and get to sit with everybody, and you're sitting here just watching from a distance, everything we do. I don't want that. I want everybody to feel special, and everybody is special. So it's like, that's what I try to do with these events, to make sure everybody's having a good time and they get to be involved.
And I witnessed that too on the 5th. You actually made sure that you addressed everyone by name.
Yeah.
And you went in both locations. You didn't overthink anything. You made sure that everyone was catered to. So awesome. It was an awesome.
I get caught up in the ghost hunting too, though, because you'll see me like, oh my God, okay, you're talking to me too. It's just like, like Robert Tinker. Robert Tinker was talking to us every single night. The first night I get there, we go to like the Octagon by the library, and I look up and I go, he's standing right there. There's a man standing right there. And he started talking to us on EVP. And then the next night, when we came back on the 5th, Chris, I see you're back here. Like, on the request, oh my God, yes I am, Robert. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And then I don't know if it was in front of you, Dean, or in front of Greg. We walked in. I go, Robert, are you here? And just before I asked the question, he says, I'm here. And then I asked the question, Robert, are you here? Because I was formulating the question before I said it. And then there was a woman next to me. She goes, oh, he's not going to talk to me. No one ever talks to me. I said, no, just come on. Don't think that way. Robert, would you be so kind to talk to her? She asks a question and he responds. She goes, oh my God, I heard that. You see her face light up, because she didn't think anyone would talk to her. And he did. And I'm like, thank you, Robert, for doing that. And she's like, holy cow, I heard that. He responded. I said, yeah, he did. See, So it was so great. I mean, the spirits there were wonderful. of course, you guys were wonderful too. You made everybody feel special, and you were always there to ask questions and guide people and let people know what's going on. And I know, like, Dean, you were there. I mean, Friday night was the most incredible night out of all 3 nights. Saturday was, it is 2 different things. Here's what's great about it. The first night there was cool, getting to know the spirits, having some responses, stuff happened. The Friday night was just love. I mean, one word, love. I mean, the fact that we asked Robert, he said, Robert, what is the one thing that you liked the most about living here or whatever? And somebody said love, right? Then when we did the seance, the love that was coming around, singing the Amazing Grace.
That was awesome.
And then the spirit say, everybody sing. They want us to all sing. So everybody get your phones out, pull up Amazing Grace. We're going to sing. I don't care if you can sing or not. Let's sing it together. So we sang it together. And as soon as we're done, Spirit Box says, amen. And then it's like, thank you, blessed, love, everything. And just the stuff that was coming through when every single person asked a question, getting a response.
Right.
It just, and then they said, hug her. I said, didn't the woman that sang Amazing Grace do great? And they said, hug her. All right, so let's all hug, so at the end, a lot of us hugged her, it was, and like Sam, you said, because I didn't quite know this on Friday night, but Saturday night when we talked about this, is you were saying that the Tinkers were such a well-liked, very strong unit family.
They were. Yep. They were very well known through the community for very tight-knit, very loving, very caring people. They loved each other. They loved their community. And they always did whatever they could for the betterment of their community. And that has absolutely continued on in the afterlife, and so that's why we have our rules about, you need to speak to them respectfully. You need to be polite to them because they are very loving and caring folks, even past their original lives, if you will, into their next lives here. But, you mentioned about the singing, and one of the things I thought was so funny was you had an EVP upstairs, right? Before we all started singing.
Or it was April 29th, where the woman said, I said to the woman, because I had a vision like a week or 2 weeks before, when I was sleeping at night, I must have left my body and my spirit walked around Tinker Swiss Cottage. And I didn't know where I was at first until I was guided by hearing some type of phonograph record or phonograph playing. And I walk into a room and I see all these spirits turn and look at me, and then I'd wake up. I said, oh my God, I think I was just in Tinker Swiss Cottage. So I was asking the spirits about that on the 29th. And I said, can you sing for us? Remember hearing music. Can you sing for us? And I play back the recorder, and a woman says, you sing too. And it's clear. And I said, who said that in the room? Nobody said it because it was so clear though. So I said, okay, so they want us to sing, but we didn't actually really sing until that Friday, May 5th. Mm-hmm. And that was because, what did you let people know why that really made an impact for them, that not only did we have one person sing, but then we all sang? Why was that so significant?
So the Victorians did what we called parlor concerts. One of the ways that they entertained the people that came to visit them is they would gather together around an instrument. Somebody would play the instrument and everybody would sing together. It was a community thing. It was the way that, host and hostess would entertain visitors. And it was a bonding experience for the Victorians. And that was very much how it felt that night as well on Friday.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, went home with a smile on my face. I slept so well. And people like, and I'll tell you this, which is interesting because you guys were there during that week before this event. Okay. I remember I had some clients during the week, and I remember I was in my meditation when I was done. I was just sitting there going, oh my God, what's this year going to be like? What's next year going to be like? And I'm like, I have no idea. I got to start working on some plans. And I'm like, what, spirits, I love you. I love you so much. I just want you to know all the spirits over all the years I've come in contact with that have communicated, spirits that I've helped cross over. I love all you guys. You've made such a big impact in my life. I never knew when I was a kid that I'd be doing this, right? And what happened days later, Friday night, in front of the spirit box, everybody got a chance. I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to ask their questions. And then Greg was like, who's sitting in front of you? And I said, I really don't have a question. I'm more interested in everybody else getting something out of this because they've been speaking to me through EVP. And all of a sudden the spirit box says, Chris, we love you. And I was like, okay, maybe it means something to everybody here just in the moment. But for me, 3 or 4 days ago, I was just doing a prayer out loud in my meditation room saying to the spirits that I love them. And here's the response out of the spirit box verbally that we recorded. We got it on audio. And then about 10 seconds, 20 seconds after that, my dad comes through, says, Chris, it's your dad. I love you. And I'm like, holy cow, which he's done that before. I have multiple recordings over him since he passed away. But I didn't expect that and I didn't need it. But after I got it, it was so appreciated because of what I was praying about days before. In the fact that this night, all of us came together and it meant different things for every single person there. Because I got a lot of messages from the people that were there saying, you don't know how much this meant to me tonight, how amazing this was, how feeling a part of this, how it touched my heart, my soul, and just, really made me feel, significant or this or that in their belief systems. And then for this to come through too, saying, that all of us being there is a part of that. And the spirits on the other side that have died, our loved ones, they appreciate it so much because there was a lot of people that healed that night from this.
Yeah, I know we had, I talked with a number of people who said that their loved ones had come through in one way or another as well over the last 3 events. And that's one thing that we see on a consistent basis at Tinker is like, yes, the Tinkers are there, but they're also willing to step aside to let your loved ones come through to you when you need it. And it's such a touching experience every time.
It is. And it's like, I walked away from that going, wow, and I remember the next day, it was a beautiful day the next day. And I was so humbled and so at peace. I was looking for, and Alex didn't make it that night. So how was it? Alex, if there was a night you needed to go, it was last night. So I said, you need to drive because I want to chill in the car, especially when I drive home. We drive home. So he picked me up. We talked about it. And I was so excited for the next group. And a lot of people in the group were friends of mine as well. And Saturday night's group, Dean, I wish you were there. It went from love to joy and laughter on Saturday night. Saturday night was jokes. It was it Saturday night that the picture fell too? Or was it
was. Okay. It was Saturday night. Yep. Okay. So I was in the basement and all of a sudden I hear everybody's calling for me and I'm like, oh my God, what's happened? So I run up 2 flights.
Sam, because I don't want any of us have to pay for something broken when we weren't in the room. And it's just like, Sam.
We're running 2 flights of stairs and I'm out of breath because this was not made to run, right? So I'm like, what's going on? And they're all like, something happened. Was this open? What was it? And I was like, oh my God, the picture fell. Yeah. And so, looked, nothing cracked, nothing was damaged, fortunately. Okay. But I'll tell you what, when we, either Stephanie or I, we set these pieces up, we jump around, we move around, we make sure that they're sturdy, that they're not going to fall when big groups are around. And there wasn't even anybody in the room. And so then later on the ghost box in the parlor, somebody asked, who knocked it over? And a voice said, we did. And I was like, who's we? Getting ready to yell at them, right? And they're like, so sorry. But I'll tell you, it's always an experience at Tinker. You never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, we started, Dean, Saturday night, we started telling jokes, and it started out where I said, okay, let's play, I would ask a question, or we do a riddle, and you have to fill in the blank, why the chicken crossed the road, stuff like that. Like, I'm going to count 1 to 7, but I'm going to miss a number. You got to tell me which number's missing. And I got it recorded. I went 1 through 7. I didn't say the number 3. When I was done, what number's missing? All of a sudden, you hear a male, which might have been Robert, go, 1, 2, 3. And I played it for Sam, and I'm like, this is brilliant. So from there, we started doing jokes. Like I said, knock, knock. And a woman goes, what? I don't know if they told knock-knock jokes back in the 1800s or early 1900s, but instead of saying who's there, they go, what? Right? And I'm like, no, that's not the point. So I said, boo, and then you hear a male go, boo-hoo, right? So we started telling more jokes. Sam jumped in. She started telling some jokes, and they said, funny, right? Make some jokes up, and it was comical, some of the responses we were getting pertaining to the jokes. And then we did the flute, again, if I remember correctly, Saturday night,
Yep.
and we got a
Very briefly.
right away. As soon as I played it, boom, there's something comes out, and then about a couple minutes later, the sound of a flute comes out of the spirit box.
That was the night I was there. That was Friday.
Yeah, but we did it again Saturday, and it was like, did I do it Saturday or was it just Friday?
You did. So you did it Friday, and that music came through Friday, and then Saturday you pulled out and you went to like play a note, and they're like, "Stop it."
Yes, stop it. Yeah, I played one note, something happened. I was going to do it again. They go, "Stop it!" I'm like, "All right, fine. I won't play anymore." I thought I was a pro anyway. But that was the thing. It's like Friday we had all this love and coming together, and Saturday we had all this laughter and humor, which when you mix the two, that's what heaven is. You know, it's laughter and love, and it was just like so great to experience this than rather some of the dark stuff we experience at other places. You know, it was so nice to experience that. And I had people giving me hugs and everything, saying, "This meant so much to me. This was so great." And I'm like, this is what it's all about, is touching people's lives and having people experience and enjoy something. That's what I love about doing these events, is just to have people experience that, which I've experienced my whole life and I've come to terms with, but to get others to experience the same thing.
Yeah, and the Tinker House does that, because I know
it does.
I've been there so many times over the last decade plus, and I know like one time Tim and I were just there. I don't know if they like Mark so much, but
Not so much.
but when Tim and I would go there on our own, we didn't get too much, but we felt welcomed.
Yeah.
We felt part of the family. We felt like we could move around there it was just so light and comfortable in the building.
Right.
I mean, we might have heard every once in a while, but other than that, it was just like you said, you leave there in this state of euphoria. You just feel so lifted and powerful. Friday night when I went home, I couldn't sleep. I was up until like 3:45, 4 in the morning trying to go to sleep because I had to work the next day. You know, it was like, come on. And, you know, just like, yeah, you get this nice sense, and it's very welcoming. This family the spirit families that's there is very, they know me. And I'm glad they like me, so that's good. And I'm glad they like you too.
Yeah, what it made me feel like is I would have been very comfortable, if it was allowed, would be to spend the night there. And I would like to have someone else there to document as well and have them have their own experience on another side of the house, whatever. But because I know that a spirit would show itself now that there's nobody else there. And for me to sit there and talk to it and experience it, you know, by it appearing and manifesting, because I've had that happen before, it would have been just so wonderful to say, because now it would know that I'm not a threat or anything like that, and it could approach me with that. But Dean, I don't know if you saw it, and as I posted on my Facebook, there's pictures from Friday night and Saturday night. I think it's the one from Saturday night. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night.
Yeah, Saturday.
And I do have many other pictures that Sam took, and there are things in the window, but not like this one. And when you look at this, it looks like a woman that is standing there in an older dress, and there's like hair coming down right over the shoulder, or just it's a shadow. But it is definitely the figure of what looks like a woman. And you know, like Sam was saying, hey, you never know, check your pictures. And I'm like, well, that'd be really cool if one of the tinkers showed up in one of the windows, the photograph, and it looks very well like it is. I can't rule out matrixing, but I am leaning more towards that it is a spirit in the window, very similar to what I got at the Whaley house when I was doing Dead Famous. And I'm just like, wow, look at this. So take a look at it on my Facebook. You'll see, if you look at the group photo, it's a group photo, and you zoom into the right window that's on the first ledge, the right pane, and you see it. And I mentioned it in the comments. So, you know, the place is wonderful. I would tell people you got to do an event there, or you have to go there, because there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, there was some negative stuff outside and like that, but all you do is get rid of it. The Tinkers don't want it in the house, so they make sure to keep stuff out. But everything in the house is safe, and they're good spirits, and they're friendly. And that's the thing. You know, they're not bothered by us being there as long as you respect them, because it's their house.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of That place is where I heard my first disembodied voice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Tinker Barn was actually the first time I've actually seen a doorknob move when there was no one on the other side,
That's cool.
and that wasn't that long ago. That freaked me out because I'd never seen anything like that before. I'm still scratching my head at that one. And
we saw a white light in the basement of the kitchen. We were sitting at the table doing stuff, and all of a sudden I see this like bar of white light, and it's to the left of the pillar, and it goes behind the pillar, even though we're all in front of it, goes behind the pillar, and then shoots across and goes where the stairs are out the cellar door. And it's just like we watch, like, and it stops and it's hovering there, and then it goes choom. So we're looking, is there anything that we have? No. Well, wait a minute. Josiah's like, it's impossible because it went behind the pillar, not in front of the pillar. We're standing in front. So if we had anything that was lighting up and was caused by us, it would have went across the pillar, not behind it. And that was a great observation that he made. And then the night before was we were sitting at the table with the lights on, and we were using one of the apps communicating, and I saw a black mass come from underneath the stairs, and a woman, Jennifer, was behind me. She saw it too. You know, we thought maybe it was an animal. It was something else, but we saw it, and it was just like, holy cow. So we saw two spirits, one the first night, one the second night, which was cool, light and dark.
So in the barn, Sarah and I were sitting there. Everyone was kind of all outside, so I knew kind of a check where everyone is. And we sit down in the barn and we hear footsteps above us.
Oh.
Sarah and I are both running up those stairs. There's no one in the upstairs gift store. And I looked out the window and there's no one out front. And you can walk across the front there and make noise where you can hear it below, but there was nobody there. And you can hear this toom, 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 like this clear as day footsteps. So that happened in the barn. And then also with the S3E13 that night, for me anyway, is Sarah gave the big oak tree a hug, a tree hug, you know?
Oh.
And while you guys were on the mound. And my Avla said, squeeze, tree.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And then I turned it off, and then we went on the other side of the bridge, and I turned it on again, and it said, squeeze, tree again.
There you go.
But before it said it differently, like I didn't know what was going on, and then it goes squeeze tree, and then I looked at Sarah, and I'm like, you took a picture of us talking about it, I think, because I'm like, squeeze tree, that's when you were giving the tree a hug up there. And she's like,
there was a couple years ago, one of the events we did, not that I put on, someone else did, a group of people went with me to this event, and we were using the spirit box and another device, and we were playing charades. I said, all right, spirits, let's play charades. All right. Each one of us is going to act out something, and you got to tell us what it is. And we did it, and they were responding, and it was comical because they were saying stuff that was ridiculous and funny, and we had a great time. So when we were in the barn on Saturday night, they were using some apps, and I hooked something up that Alex had, and it was spitting out a lot of like Star Trek Cantina type stuff, you know, Jawa voices, and it was really weird. So I said, all right, let's play charades. And I started also talking to him like Star Wars. We started saying Star Wars, and all of a sudden a voice came out like Jabba the Hutt. They said, can you do Robin Williams? And then it sounded like Mork from Robin Williams whenever he would do something backwards. And so I started, let's play charades. So I started acting out certain animals, right? Elephants. I did a zombie, Frankenstein, whatever. And a couple times they would respond to what I was doing. It was comical. Then I was doing something like, I was trying to be like a bird. Someone else thought I was doing a pterodactyl, but I'm going like this. Everybody's laughing because it looks so ridiculous. I go, what am I? I said, okay, what am I doing? They said, stupid. You know, it just came out clear, stupid. You know, and everybody just started laughing, just going, oh man. You know. So we had fun with
there
this.
It is. So what was your favorite room? What was your favorite room in the house?
Favorite room? I really love looking up at the octagon in the library. I think that is so beautiful. The way, I mean, everybody talks about the stairs. The stairs is nice too. But for me, if you're in a room and you're seeing the entrance into another room, just that right there is gorgeous. And many times when I was standing there, I would see Robert or a woman would be standing there as well, looking down, watching us. So for me, that was the favorite part of the house. And it actually is where I got most of my EVPs from Robert. I was always getting stuff from Robert when I was in that library and the room just before the library where we did a lot of the singing and the seance, and when I was standing underneath there. So those adjoining rooms, to me, I got the best EVPs, and then in one of the bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah, I will say that the
library. I'm here in the library as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah, the library is just always one of our biggest hotspots. That it seems like no matter what else is going on during the night, there's almost always something happening in the library with the spirits. Yeah. And it kind of makes sense because that was one of their public rooms, right? That's where they would receive visitors. It's where they would entertain people. And so it continues to seem to be one of our most active locations in the museum.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm glad we did that, like the seance thing at the end. I mean, the very first night I was getting worried, like nothing was coming out, and the static from the spirit box was so disorienting. I'm like, oh God, this is not going to work well. I'm like, oh no. And we switched to an app, the Ghost Tube, and it was just like, wow, it was wild. And then Greg went and did some tweaks to the portal and everything for the spirit box. And I remember when we were coming out of the house, I said, all right, everybody, let's get together. And I wasn't set on what we're going to do yet. And there was a voice that says, Greg has the spirit box. I'm like, huh? I was like, spirit box. I said, okay, Greg, you got the spirit. Did you bring it? He's like, yeah, let's do that. They want us to do that. Sure enough, as soon as he turns it on, they're talking. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the spirits will tell us what they want to do and communicate with, and we have to listen to them. If something's not working, then say, spirits, what do you want us to use? What do you want us to do? What do you feel comfortable with? And then they'll speak through that. It's a little bit
of Did you pick up any children there psychically, or any small children?
You know, it's interesting. When I did the walkthrough the first time back in February with Sam, I saw a girl that raced across and went into one of the rooms, but I didn't feel any or get any when I was there. When I remember correctly, the last 3 times, I don't think anything came through. I was more communicating with one of the women that were there, and Robert. And then, these other entities that were from outside as well.
What was your impression of the girl? I mean, you saw her running from
the girl? All I remember is that, if I remember correctly, we were on the 2nd floor, and I saw her standing there, and she raced into one of the rooms, and I kind of raced after her. And then she went into the one room where there's the door that it goes into an attic or somewhere that we don't have access to. And she obviously retreated there to hide.
Would be the sewing room, Sam?
Is that?
So she ran from pretty much from around the sewing room area into Robert's room where there's an attic space.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting because she's the only one that ever, out of the kids that do seem to go upstairs, the boys never seem to go upstairs. They might do the main floor, but they're usually main floor or basement. Maddie's really the only one that ever is brave enough to sneak upstairs, I guess.
So the reason why I ask is because we brought a Van de Graaff generator into the sewing room, and we had that going. And I said that, hey, Mary, we have this new sewing machine here. Give it a try. It won't hurt you. Blah, blah, blah. Speed it up a little bit. And when I was saying that, someone says, if anything, it's got a cool effect. And you hear this voice, disembodied voice. Everyone heard it in the room, and I captured it on audio, and it says, a little girl's voice says, it's probably part of the plan.
Oh.
In a whisper sense.
Oh, that's great.
And, yeah, it's probably part of the plan. And it's like she was talking to somebody else, like, in a sense, like, or either talking to herself. So that's why I asked you if you had any impressions. Like, I'm thinking 10, 12 years old for this kid.
Okay. Yeah, no, not on that. We had a lot going on, and I was communicating with these other spirits the whole night. It seemed like they wanted to come through, so I was going with them most of the time.
Yeah, they were very busy nights.
Yeah, and then when I was out by the bridge, I know the one night, the first night, nobody else was out there. I was out there by myself, freaked myself out. But then both other nights, I went out there, and there was spirits not from the house, but spirits from outside and in the area that were coming forward. It's almost like The Walking Dead. They're all coming forward, and a lot of them were vagrants and disoriented, and I didn't really care for their energy because they were wanting stuff. It's like they were kind of grabbing you and trying to mislead you or whatever, and it's like almost like, not to say hellish like hell, but some of them were like that. There's just a tap on the window. And my cat also turned and looked too. Oh, he's not now, but he was. And this just happened with the interview I just did a couple nights ago. I heard a whisper that came through, and I guess we caught it on the recording on the interview. But anyway, there were spirits that were out there too. I said, all right, I don't want to talk to all you guys. So I kind of did like a prayer, and hopefully some of them would leave and cross over. And then I just went back in the house to communicate with the Tinkers.
Yeah, and Sarah, who was there on the 29th and then the 5th, she is the psychic medium for MGI, and there's been a couple of times where she's had to cross over others from the neighborhood.
Yep, they come in from the neighborhood.
Yep. And so,
right.
Every now and then she's just got to come down and, all right, guys, time to cross over, and you go.
Yeah, like I said, the first night, I scared myself because myself was on the camera. It would flip around. You see this shadow person standing in front of you. It was me, but because I didn't know I had it facing me, I thought it was facing there. But after that, all these voices coming up, people coming up. It's like you're in the middle of a Walking Dead. They're not trying to eat you. They're just all getting in your face, trying to grab your energy, but also trying to get you to listen to them. Was really. It was uncomfortable and just disorienting, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not here for you. I'll say prayers whatever I can do, but it was getting to a point they really didn't care about the prayers. It's like they were just trying to get something from you, and that goes on at the end of the bridge in that area over there. So a lot of them probably psychological issues as well within life that they carried over within death or traumatic deaths, whether it's drug overdose, whether it's suicide, whether it's other situations. It just seemed a lot of them had dealt with some really hard times. But in their frame of mind, they weren't really looking for assistance. They were more looking to just disorient others because they were so confused. So I try to stay away from some of those spirits, send them peace if you can, but I had to worry about other people too.
Yeah, most of the time when folks come to investigate, they don't usually go across the creek anyways,
right.
Because there's just so much going on with the Tinkers.
Across the creek. Don't go across the creek. I warned you. It would be a good movie. Don't cross the bridge. That'd be a great horror movie, right? Don't cross the bridge. And then why don't I cross the bridge? And then there's like these ghosts or these zombies there or whatever,
Yeah, you'll have to credit us in your next movie.
There you go. Well, there is a locked gate between there. I guess they can cross that, huh?
Yeah, I think gates matter. I had the fear of dropping my phone or dropping a piece of my equipment when I'm on.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, hold on to your stuff because if you lose it, we're not going after it.
Nope.
You don't know what's in that river there. You don't know.
Well, speaking of the people that came out there, of course, Steve, Josiah, Greg, awesome guys.
Oh, they're amazing, aren't they?
Oh,
yeah, so much fun to work with.
Yeah.
We fell in love with them at Joliet Prison. They attended Joliet Prison to be a part of the tour and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was doing a thing with Dave Schrader, and they came, God, these guys are amazing. They're asking great questions. And like, hey, Chris, we got a place, kind of a square if you want to do it. I'm like, I don't know, I don't know anything about it, and am I going to be able to sell tickets? Nobody's really heard of it, and I looked at it. Well, this looks cool. And I've been there twice. It's great. It's amazing. It's amazing. The stuff we had. And plus, these guys were so amazing. I said, hey, if you guys want to help out some of the other events I'm doing, and they're just great. They're knowledgeable. They're real investigators. And that's what I like.
Yeah.
And, they get excited by capturing stuff, but they're also there to educate and help people as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they got the tools to do it.
Yep.
They do.
Yep.
So there's actually a question for you in the comments. Laura wants to know, Chris, have you ever had to protect a live person from a spirit?
Take a live person. Oh, yeah, of course. I've done exorcisms, deliverance. I was just with Father Mike a couple months ago and a friend Brad. They asked me to come. There's a guy in Indiana that I won't get into all the details because I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it, but he was possessed. So we assisted him. I've had other cases through Chicago where people have been possessed, but I take them very individually and I like to distance because what I found is if I do a bunch of them, which I was doing back in 2010, 2011, that you get attacked more because you are going into their territory and there's repercussions for it. There really are repercussions. When you start doing a lot of them, I said, oh, I want to do another one. I'm doing another one. Okay, I did a couple this week. I'm going to do a couple next week. And then all of a sudden stuff was happening. I was getting attacked and stuff I won't get into now. We don't have the time. But it was just at a point where like, okay, I got to back off this because now it's affecting my life. It's affecting family members and other people because it's not like they need to, knock on a door or whatever. They can find you wherever you're at. So I take it gradually. And even this one that we just did, I started going into an oppressive state, started having some bad luck. And I'm like, man, do I really want to keep doing this? Do I want to go that route? But the thing is that I have the experience and knowledge to break through with some of these spirits and help these people. And I'm not afraid. It's just that you get stuff on you. When I talk about this psychic energy from this dark energy, that just follows you and harasses you for a while. And what I mean by that too is, I'll give you a perfect example, is they like to do things in threes, all right? Which, Adam Bly and I've had this discussion for years, going back to 2008, is they like to mock the Holy Trinity. So what they'll do is, for example, I do a case, and then what happens for several days is when I'm sleeping at night, something will wake me up 3 times throughout the night. It might be a scream in my ear. It might be a crash in the house or a knock on the door, or the doorbell will ring, even though the doorbell's not ringing, okay, because it's not on my camera and I don't have it recorded that the doorbell rang. But you'll hear it and you'll wake up. Or you'll hear something in the room. Like I just had a scream this past week, or it was a week before. There was a scream. I woke up from that going, oh, yeah, I heard you, or I go back to bed. Then I heard my cat crying. Like I thought something was wrong. He's been really sick. I've been taking him to the vet yesterday and even today, and I got to go again next week. So I jumped up thinking he's dying or something and go downstairs and he's sound asleep. So they would do this to disrupt your sleep, to cause oppression. So then you don't get a good night's sleep. Then you're not effective in working during the day. Then you don't want to talk to people because you're so tired during the week. And that's what they do. They wear you down. So that happened, over a week ago. And it's just like, man, but it just comes with the territory. People say, oh, you got to protect yourself. Well, listen, when you're really doing this, when you're really coming in contact with them, not just saying you're doing it or whatever, you're really doing this, they do come after you. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if someone says, well, don't come after me, don't touch me, then I don't think you're really coming in contact with them or you're really affecting them to remove them. And I'm not trying to be egotistical or put anybody down, but everybody that legitimately does this, okay, they know the repercussions. Like Adam's told me that there are priests that have been exorcists that they don't have relationships, they stay away from people because those people get affected. And a lot of them end up either going crazy or having major health issues or other issues near the end of their life.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to go off into a dark zone here because Tinker is not that. Tinker is such a light, and in the middle of Rockford, it's such an amazing place. And it's places like that, and I say this, similar to like the Queen Mary and some other places I've been, where to me, that spirit world that exists within that home is a place I know and feel always be welcome to because I respected them. But for me, it's always like a form of family. I feel more comfortable at times being around these spirits because they know I'm going to respect them. They can see everything about me. And it's easier in that little dynamic than it is with real people. And it's like, it's not a disassociation, but I've gotten to a point where I get this disassociation being around live people that don't understand the various realms and who we truly are as spiritual beings, that I end up feeling sometimes more comfortable being around these ghosts because I understand them. It's just a weird thing that I've adjusted to later in my life. I used to be a social butterfly and going out and doing all this stuff. And, openings of restaurants and clubs and everything. Now I was like, oh, I don't want to be around those people. Not saying that negative like that. I just don't want to be around that stuff. I enjoy more doing meditation, traveling, doing the gateway, or being in these spiritual realms or being around these spirits, because that's like my world. That is my world. And it's a strange thing to say. I don't think I'd ever be saying that, but it's true. And a lot of people that know me and with what I do know that.
Oh, I share the same passion. I think we all do. That's why we're here.
We've got a good friend, Kathy, who always likes to joke that she's got more dead friends than live friends. And it really resonates sometimes.
Yeah, it's like ghosts don't scare me. Even demons don't scare me, okay?
Like
I understand the light in the dark and stuff like that. And even respect, demonic entities. I have a respect for them and why they're upset and this and that, even though it's misconstrued in a way. I don't respect what they do to other people, but I understand why they're doing it, even though it's wrong. But people scare me, because people, living people don't understand higher consciousness. They don't understand the truth. People say, well, what is truth? Well, truth today is manipulated by politics, social media, and everything. And
subliminal messaging.
Yeah, it's really, really manipulated. It's become a war tool. It's become a really manipulated, deceiving tool. But in spirit, in higher consciousness, there is only truth. And there can only be truth, because everything is conscious. And when it's all conscious and known to everyone, you wouldn't even think of me. If you even tried to attempt to lie, everybody would turn and go, we know you're lying, because you're even thinking in your head you're lying. So we know. So everybody knows. They would never think of it. And it's because that's what they do, is they think. And it becomes known to everybody. But here in society, it's kind of scary. So the thing is when you also get in touch with spirits will sometimes warn you about other people's and things that are going to happen. Like, hey, this person's not being honest. Like I was saying about my sister earlier, is I've come to that too, where sometimes spirits will be warning me. Like, for example, I was out with some friends of mine for dinner a week ago, and I didn't talk to one of my friends for a little while because he was always negative about stuff. He was making me negative. Even though I talk about something that's negative sometimes, I was getting worse, because like attracts like, right? And I said, I just need to distance myself. But I knew I was going through a hard time with another friend that I used to be friends with too, and I'm not anymore. I've just distanced myself from certain individuals. He said, I need to talk to you. So we went out to eat, and then we went out the next week with some other friends. And I said, I'm just going to be positive around them. I don't want to be negative. I want to go down that route we did a couple years ago. And then he's talking, and the spirit says to me, Chris, listen to him very intently. Deep down, he really wants you to listen. He just wants to be heard. So I sat there and I listened to him. Didn't say anything. I just listened, unless he wanted me to say something. And so it's great, because at times spirit will say something about somebody. Like, I remember someone was really angry and they were upset. And normal situation, another human would get defensive because of what they're saying, they're acting. But I felt empathy for them, because I was seeing, and the spirit was telling me what they were really feeling, what they were going through. So it made me realize, okay, I'm going to listen to them, and I kind of know what to say to them when there's a break. And I did, and they said, like, they looked at me like, you understand? I said, yes, I do, So I didn't take it defensive. And we even had an individual at one of our events, I think it was Friday night, or it was maybe Saturday night, didn't want her picture taken. She goes, no, don't take my picture, don't pay. And I noticed when I was taking a picture, she kind of turned and said, oh, she want her picture taken. Why does she want her picture? And then she left the room and went behind. And I'm like, okay, something going on here. And then she came up and she was like, I don't want a picture taken. If I would have known people were taking pictures, I wouldn't even come. I said, well, we're going to respect that. She goes, no, you don't understand. I looked at her, I said, and I'm not going to say it here, but I said things to her that were being shown to me in that moment. And she looked at me and I said, I do understand. And she's like, oh, okay, you can be safe here. All right, we're family. So if there's any problems, you let me know. All right, we got you. She's like, okay, thank you. And she had a wonderful time. She's also the woman that said, oh, they'll never talk to me. They're not going to talk to me. And they did, and her face lit up, So I realized everybody's going through something to varying degrees. And sometimes spirit will come in and let you know what it is, so that you could better understand that person and not take it personal for yourself, or worry that it's going to affect other people, but understand that this person's here to also heal. And there's a way we can do it with spirit. And that's what I love. That's what I just love about doing what I do.
Definitely.
Well, we certainly absolutely loved having you
Thank
these
you.
last few handful of nights, and anytime you want to come back, more than welcome.
Well, I hope you guys are going to come to my Paracon at Woodstock.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yep.
We got July 8th of this year from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Yep.
Right down the street from me is the Woodstock Opera House. So, yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about who you got coming here.
Yeah.
That would be
July
awesome.
8th. What I decided, originally I went there just to do a ghost hunt at night. When I walked around the place, I said, it'd be great for a convention. They said, oh, we want to do it. I said, oh, do I really want to do that? I don't know if I want to do a convention. I'm just doing ghost hunts. I said, all right, I'm just going to do it. Let's do it. So we have vendors. I'm still selling tables for vendors. I've got a bunch of people already booked. But if you're interested in vendor tables, let me know. They're very inexpensive. And we're going to have vendors throughout the whole day. And then also we have speakers. We've got Amelia Cotter is going to be talking about Haunted Chicago. Al Capone, she's going to talk about the history of Woodstock. We've got Sam Maranto, who's the UFO director for Illinois for MUFON. He's going to talk about the Tinley Park UFOs. He's got video footage and audio he's going to play, as well as he's talking about the Mothman in Chicago. And he believes he's cracked the case and just found out some new stuff about it that he wants to present to the public here. And then I'm going to be talking about ghosts in the afterlife. I'm going to share some of my evidence with ghosts, when I grew up, as well as overseas. Also, I'm going to play some of the audio of my father talking from the afterlife.
Nice.
And then we have my friend, Dr. Scott Kobaba, who wrote the book, Physicians' Untold Stories. Doctors, he's got 27 doctors in this book. He's got way more now. He's working on a second book. Doctors, physicians, orthopedic surgeons, cancer doctors that have come forward that have had paranormal experiences and miracles, life after death, seen ghosts, patients that have died and then appeared to them the next day. He's going to be on stage talking about some of these stories, and we're going to play some of the interviews with some of these doctors as well. Then we're doing a panel discussion, and we have a panel. Ron Fabiani from Paranormal Cops is going to be there. I'm going to be hosting the event. I'll be emceeing it, and I will be interviewing all the people in the panel. Christina Rake is going to be up there too. Also, Father Mike from the Demon House is going to be up there. We're going to talk to him about what it was like in the Demon House, as well as some of his other cases. And I have some other guests I haven't announced yet that will also be on the panel that we'll be interviewing, and we'll be taking audience questions at the event. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be an intimate, great, anybody into the paranormal groups. If you're a paranormal group and you want to get a table, let me know. It's very affordable, and we just want to get as many people in Chicagoland area that are into the paranormal to come to this event and have a big time. Plus, Woodstock Opera House, they filmed Groundhog Day right there.
Groundhog Day.
It's amazing. And Orson Welles was a resident there. So it's just like, what a great place to have it.
Is this Paracon going to repeat every day? Every day?
Every day. You know how much work it is to just put it together? I'm doing it myself. It's like, my God. I'll be putting up banners this week of the speakers, okay? But we sold out the Ghost Hunt in 2 days. And I think we've sold about between 70 and 100 tickets right now. We've got 200 left. So if you want to go, get the tickets, because I know as we get closer, it's going to sell out. So it's best to have that ticket. It's only $30 for the whole day. Plus, there's all the restaurants there you can go, and then there's a farmer's market that's out there in the morning until 2. So you can walk right out in the farmer's market too. So you got a lot to do that day.
Yeah, if you're coming from afar, get a room there. You're going to love Woodstock, the square itself.
Yeah. But to answer your question, I mean, and I'm sorry I kind of went off on a tangent, but
also for the event,
I don't know. I just want to get through this one event, and if it's successful, I can build upon it. I've seen a lot of people go out there and they try to do really big events and they fail at it. I don't know. Is it going to sell out? We'll see. I hope it does. And if it does, then maybe I bring in more people to do a bigger one.
Well, you had it limited to about 270 tickets, I want to say.
Yeah, there was 270. There was 30 tickets for the VIP, and we posted 270. We could fit more, but the Opera House told me they really don't want to have more than 300 people in the auditorium because it's on the second floor and it was built in the late 1800s. So remember, all of us are taller and bigger people than we were back in the 1800s. So it used to fit 450 people, but they're going to limit it to 300. But, they might let more people in the walk during the day. I don't know. So we're saying 300 people. We've got 200 tickets left. Grab them.
So if you're a vendor and want to sell some stuff there, ghostoutletstore@gmail.com.
Yeah, just email me there. I'll send a vendor form packet with the prices and the link to pay. And then for the tickets, if you want to get a ticket, just go to Woodstock Opera House going to events, and you find that for July 8th, and you just buy a ticket right there. All ticket sales are being done from Woodstock Opera House, which saves me a lot of headache too.
Now, was Alex going to be there? Because I missed him on
Yeah.
Friday. I was looking for him on Friday, and he didn't show up. I haven't seen that cat for.
Yeah, he had to work. He got called in for work on Friday, so he couldn't make it. But yeah, Alex.
Hey, Alex, sorry I missed you, man.
Yeah, Bartles and Hens will be there. Alex is going to be there. Chicago Haunts is going to be there. You know, a bunch of other paranormal groups and tour places are going to be there too. You know, hopefully you guys will be there, maybe with the table, and maybe Juliet Prison will get one too. You know,
Oh, I wish I could be there. I've got to work that day, but you know, I know, but I'm following your events now. I'm gonna keep up with that. We'll see you at something or another coming up.
Yeah. All right, that's great. I'm gonna try to get my mom to come too. I mean,
Oh, that would be cool.
she's in a wheelchair, and it is handicap accessible. I got an elevator, but I have to see if my sister can come into town and bring her, because I'm going to be doing the event the whole time. So I'd love to have her there.
Well, before we say goodnight to everyone, I would love for you to share the story that you had with your dad that you told us on Friday night regarding the checking.
Oh boy. Okay.
You can shorten it if you like, but
yeah, okay.
I want to bring your father back into the picture here, because I mentioned him early on, and I would be beside myself if we didn't.
I'll try to do a condensed version of this. My father, he had a stroke and heart attack in 2004, and he was in Claremont in Buffalo Grove for like 5 years until he died. And during that time, the doctor says he only had 6 months to live. And he actually lived, people with his conditions, no one they've ever had has lived over 2 years. My dad lived 5 years. And that was because he just didn't want to let go for me and my sister. So there's several times I went in there to tell him to let go, because he was semi-paralyzed. He was never going to get out of there. He lost a lot of organs and stuff. And I couldn't do it. I'd break down. And my dad says, well, you're ready to tell me to tell me. So back in 2009, I walked in there. I talked to my mom and my sister, and I said, I'm going to tell him to let go. Even though my parents have been divorced for 30 years. And I said, Dad, do you want to go home? He says, what about you and your sister? I said, oh my God. Yeah, Dad, we're going to be fine. We'll be okay. Are you ready to pack your bags and go home? He goes, yeah. So I said, all right, Dad, then just, let go when you're ready. He says, I will. And he touched my cheek and he said, be strong. Right. 7 days later, he died. Okay. I got to see him the day before he died. When I was in there, he was curled up like a baby, and they were feeding him. And I'm like, oh, my dad looks terrible. Right. And I walked out, and a voice says, that's the last time you're going to see him alive. I go, what? And I know to listen to that voice. So I walked right back in, and I go, Dad, I love you. He's like, I love you too. And I said, what is it? Friday, Sunday, Saturday? Oh, I got plans tomorrow. Sunday, I'm going to come see you Sunday. Because usually I saw him once a week. He said, okay, son, I'll see you then. The next morning, I get a phone call at 9 a.m. He passed. All right. And I'm like, oh my God, so much for Sunday, right? But they were right. It was the last time you're going to see him. So I couldn't be mad, because they told me. And I told him to let go 7 days before. So I went to the hospital, Northwest Community Hospital in Arlington Heights. And there's the chaplain. My stepdad was with me, and so was my best friend that I grew up with since 3rd grade. We're walking down the corridor towards the chaplain's going to lead us to where his body is, right? And I'm just numb. But I'm remember my dad says, be strong. I have to be strong. I'm the man now in the family. He's gone. There's my sister and my mom. There's my stepdad. But our family, I'm the man. So I'm walking down, and I see someone go, who the hell's standing there? Really weird at the end of the hallway. And I see a man standing like in the green robe that you wear when you're in the hospital, right? And I'm looking, and it was my dad when he was 30 years old. My dad died at 73. And I'm looking going, I got to be imagining this. This is a full body, solid apparition of my father when he was 30 years old. And he's just standing there kind of like a zombie, right? And now I know why. It's just standing there just staring like this. And it was kind of creepy looking. But you know why it was creepy? Because it was a ghost. It wasn't him. It's him creating a ghost of his former self. So he created that form to show me, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's why I kind of looked a little awkward, right? Because it's not him from 30 years ago. It's a manifestation of him. So he had to create that. So then it slowly disappears. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not saying anything to anybody, right? We walk over to the room, and the chaplain's figuring out which room it is. And I stop, and I turn, and I put my hand on this door. He's in here. Chaplain goes in, opens the door. Oh yes, he's in here. Chaplain didn't even bother saying, how did you know? I'm the one supposed to be taking you to the body, right? So I walk into the room, he leaves me in there, and I see the body, and I just grieve. I just let it all out because it looks horrific. Here I am just saw my dad yesterday, and here he is dead. It's a horrible thing to see the body like that. But then I said, no, we talked about this, Dad, for years. That is not you. That is not you. You are conscious, and I know you can hear me, and I know you're in this room. I can't see you, but I know damn well you're in this room. You just showed me yourself outside in the hallway. I'm not leaving till we make physical contact. Next thing I was there for like 2 hours, didn't realize it. Chaplain comes in twice to tell me. And the one time he comes in, he says, I'm sorry, we're not trying to rush you. And yeah, sure, you are trying to rush me, right? He says, but we understand, sorry that your dad is dead. All of a sudden, you see this shadow shoot to the one wall, hit the wall, and the wall starts shaking violently. And I'm like, what the hell? And he's even like shocked by it. And I'm not thinking paranormal at this point. I'm just freaked out what's going on. And I'm looking at this going, what the hell's going on? It's like an earthquake, but just that wall. Then it slowly stops. Things were shaking on it. And I'm like, how did that go away? And he goes, oh, that's probably just construction. I go, oh, okay. And he says once again, I'm sorry that your dad is dead. Boom, something shoots over to that side of the wall. Now we're realizing it's not construction. The whole wall is shaking, just that wall, but the monitors and the tubes that are on it are flying in the air and everything's shaking on it. It looks like something you'd see in a horror movie, like a paranormal horror movie, right? He's freaking out. I'm feeling now my dad when he's angry. I know when my dad was angry. He was a hockey player. And I'm absorbing it. And I turned to him and goes, my dad is not dead. How dare you? That's what my dad was mad about. He's like, I'm not dead, right? That's why he was angry. And he goes, I'm not dead. And I'm saying this to the chaplain. Chaplain looks at me, looks at what's going on, and races out of the room. My best friend is standing in the doorway and sees everything going like this in the room, shuts the door. He was freaked out, right? So, and it's and I'm like, Dad. Oh my God. Okay, think. Are you mad at me? No, you're not mad at me. Why am I saying it? You're mad at him. Okay, all right, Dad, we talked about this. And I got tears streaking down. I go, Dad, you owe me. For all those years you didn't want to talk about it and just told me to ignore it. You owe me. We talked about this. We practiced this. I told you how to make contact with consciousness. All of a sudden, swirling wind. All right, I had a short sleeve shirt on. I feel swirling wind. I'm looking around. There's no vent. I go, keep doing it, Dad. I'm starting to feel something. All of a sudden, I didn't see the hand, but I then felt a hand touch my hand and go like this, right? No different than when I was in the hospital. My dad would take his one good arm and would touch my cheek and do this, or my hand, or my arm to hold me, right? And I'm like, yes, we did it. And my girlfriend at the time, she opens up the door as I'm sitting in front of my dad's body going, yes, right? And she walks in and I look at her with a smile. She's like, am I walking in on something? I go, no, come here. She's like, maybe I should. No, come here. And I go, we made contact. She's like, you did? I go, yes. She goes, okay, I'm going to go now. And she leaves, right? And I'm like, yes, we did it, Dad. I'm like, F yeah, we did it. I'm like, all right. And so I wasn't even looking at the body anymore. I didn't need to. I knew he was in spirit. We made contact, saw him. I walk out. I tell everybody, ready to eat? Let's go eat. And then we went and had lunch. Then I started getting all the phone calls from the newspapers. I heard your father's dead. Do you want to make a statement? When's the funeral? When's this? I don't know. He just died a couple hours ago. The press is just crazy. They just don't care. So anyway, that's what happened. There was more that happened later too, but that was just amazing.
Well, and to summarize it a little bit, is the reason why he was hitting the opposite walls is because he was a hockey player.
Yes. The story, I guess, which I told at the event was the very next day was the Blackhawks alumni picnic, which was downtown. And I was, should I go? Should I not go? My mom's like, maybe you should go, and talk to him because they all just heard he died and maybe you can talk. I said, maybe it'd be good for me. So on the way down, okay, things come in threes, right? All of a sudden, a red Corvette pulls in front of us and it says Reggie. That's like my dad's name, right? Then,
oh my God, you live in my world.
A van comes by with the Blackhawk logo on it. All right. Then there was another car that comes by, and I think it had something else to do with my dad. I can't remember the exact detail. And there was threes, and I was like, oh my God, it's my dad. He's with us as we're going down there. So I walk in there, and sure enough, Stan Mikita comes up to me, Reggie Kerr, Cliff Coral, and some of the other hockey players. Oh, Chris, we're so sorry about your dad. Yeah, so we started talking. They said, I was going to go see your dad this week, and I'm so sorry I didn't. And so we chatted. I said, guys, I got to tell you something that happened. I don't know if you believe in the paranormal or not. I know you know what I do and everything, but I got to tell you what happened yesterday. And I told him this story. And Reggie Kerr looks at Cliff and goes, that was Reggie getting one last check-in. Because hockey players, when they skate around the rink and they go after the other opposing team, they would check them into the board. Right? So my dad, as I said, the mask goes shooting into the wall and then goes shooting into the wall. My dad was checking the wall like a hockey player. Perfect. And Reggie said that in Cliff Coral, and I was just like, wow, Reggie Kerr and Cliff Coral. I was like, oh my God, you're right.
Well, cool. Thanks for joining us tonight, Chris.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It was a blast and seeing you at Tinker Swiss, and I'm so glad you even got to experience Tinker for 3 days. And the stuff that you had. I mean, it is an amazing place, amazing family. I know Amelia Cotter did.
He froze
up. That you can pick up at the gift store or on Amazon, anywhere. Yeah. So definitely look for that. And everyone check out Chris Fleming anywhere you can. July. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more for this gentleman down here. And then, of course, Sam, what do you got coming up at Tinker Swiss? You got a few things coming up.
Oh, we do. We've got a couple of paranormal nights coming up. The one this Saturday is sold out, but we've got one in June. We've got with the paranormal professor Joel Ramsey in Haunted Rockford. July, we've got an event with Haunted Rockford and the Society for Anomalous Studies. The end of July, we have the Killing Brothers coming up, and they're going to do an event there, as well as Veterans Memorial. And then there is the Haunted Rockford Paranormal Conference at the end of August. So we've got a lot of fun things coming up.
Now, do you still, are teams able to still rent out the place for their own private events?
Absolutely. So we have public ones, we have private ones. We do them all throughout the year. So we do them usually in 4-hour increments.
You guys do it. It's very affordable. And these guys are amazing. You couldn't ask for better tour guides. I mean, Joliet Prison's great too. Both you guys and Joliet Prison are phenomenal. So out of all the places I've done, both you guys are the best. So I just want to say, people out there, if you got a group or if you got a bunch of people you want to go rent it out, you have amazing tour guides and you have a wonderful haunted location that you get to investigate on your own. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
Very much appreciate that. And we appreciate you joining us, not only at Tinker, but also on the podcast tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us on season 3. We'll pick up season 4 in the next couple of weeks. Sam and I are going to brainstorm for our next adventures. So there you go. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Say goodbye, Noelle. Say goodbye. Goodbye. All right. Thanks, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Robert, where are you? I thought you told me to meet you here. You were going to take me to the island. Robert?
This place is haunted.